white 14. TOM'S Tourney 2025, vibes immaculate, fields impeccable, and we are bringing you further action from the women's division here in Bruges. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, alongside Benji Rees, as we look at a matchup between the German Women's Masters team and Mooncup from Brussels. Benji, talk us through your expectations for this game.
I'm really excited, to be honest. It's not quite a pure blend of youth versus experience, but Mooncup, of course, had such a breakthrough season last year, getting all the way to the finals of EUCF. But a little bit of dark horses in that respect, and this German women's master side, hugely experienced. You know, been there, done that, got multiple T-shirts. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether the quite high-flying, swashbuckling style of Mooncup is going to be countered by, I think, maybe we'd expect a more perhaps precise and less freewheeling German style.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the Germans tend to be stereotyped for their efficiency, but we're expecting to see really high-quality offense and lots of smiles, definitely to smile us up. Right in the center of that lineup of starting 7, you have the return of Kia Binovic. Lovely to see her back on the pitch, of course, having a... It's created the next generation of perhaps ultimate players, if not, of course, sporting superstars. But a couple of other names we recognise on this roster, Benji: Janneke Kappelman, Verena Plein, just to name a few.
Yeah, I mean, for me, any time I get to watch Kia Binovic going at it is just a pure, unbridled joy. You know, played Germany World Games as well. I mean, she can do absolutely everything. It's the first step suddenness that I love about her game. You know, blink and you'll miss it stuff, and she's so precise with her throws as well, and her movements. They're very deliberate, which I really, really like. And for Mooncup, you know, it's been said that rich get richer, and because they just seem to acquire more talent, because evidently they create such a good club culture and environment that it draws more and more stars over who want to play, and they want to get a piece of the action, and you can't necessarily say you blame them.
Well, it will be the Germany Women's Masters team to start on offense. First touch of real breeze that we're seeing here in game slot number 3 of the first day of play. Of course, that slight shift in the proceedings Wednesday here, local time, just about 11:30. Flying feet to try and get the block, but the Germany women just taking their time, seeing the shots. It's a nice leader up line, but the throw isn't quite there. Difficult one to execute over the shoulder, and it goes to ground, our first turnover of the game.
Yeah, it's quite an ambitious shot, that, from Braun, with the receiver running almost directly away, trying to get the right edge to make sure that it stays in bounds and also has enough lead on it. It's a tricky option.
So first opportunity, and it's Emma Sexton of Pelt, and I think maybe one of our Funky Pineapples. Desky, of course, a famed women's team in the division at Tom's. High release. And now it's going to be a ripper from Fiona Schutter. Downfield. Well handled. Looking for options. Mooncup find themselves a little bit of a cluster. Put Sexton out towards this near side cone. Lots of action. Everyone trying to provide resets. It's just cluttering up the space. Now finding a little bit more separation and Swaggerlicious. What a flick, but it's not going to be caught. Lazaris, the intended target, but maybe just caught a little bit too much of the sun.
Tricky one, that one. It was a really good throw from Schloeter to open this up. Ripping the forehand deep, looking for Howard up. Not quite in the end zone, but I must say, the end zone offense left something to be desired. This is a really awkward throw, trying to get it over the defense, but the defender's there to get a hand in there as well. Your receiver has to turn and look and locate. And rather than going with the outside in, which would take it away from the defender, it's inside out, so it's going over the defender's flight path.
Well, a complete miscue on the goal line for Germany Women's Masters. Gives very short field a gift here for Mooncup. Can they convert it this time? It's the hammer over the top, and it works. Lovely use of the absolute acreage on the break side.
It's not the prettiest hammer I've ever seen, but it was effective, and that's the most important thing. Utilising that tight vertical stack in the centre and then just dropping a little hammer towards that break side. Didn't need to be anything too extravagant, just enough sit to make sure that it was easy enough to get on the receiving end in the end for Diop.
Yeah, I'm wondering if either of these teams, Benji, are wearing not their usual number.
I've seen a few who are culpable, certainly, on both sides.
Well, on a national side, you might expect it, you know, makes it more difficult and challenging for your opponents to use this footage for scouting purposes. Of course, it's European Masters that's happening this season. Worlds will be the next iteration when, Benj?
Good question. Let me do them. It's next year, I believe. Actually, I'm going to check, because we had it last year, so maybe it's 3 years from now. I can never remember the cycle that these things are on.
Of course, one of ULTI.TV's own, Christina Obermeier, readying for the pull in the centre of your frame.
It is 2028, because next year is the World Masters Ultimate Club Championships, which are taking place in the UK.
There we go. He knows all, folks. It might take him a little while to go through the Rolodex and the pool of knowledge in the brain, but it's always there. He's not had to start making a remembering pool just yet. So it's Beatrice underneath it. Seeing her go to work already, and a beautiful lead pass. Nice high grab, making it easy. And that is a clean possession for the German Women's Masters.
Yeah, Beatrice has to be public enemy number one, I think, for the Mooncup defence. First point for Germany. They didn't really get her involved that much, but that time, utilising the speed across the ground, because obviously not the biggest frame, but you know, sells the defender underneath, creates space, and the deep shot isn't too hard. It just leads her out, and then with a little bit of edge to take it around the mark into the end zone to get the Germans on the board.
Well, all level, one apiece, but of course that first break for Mooncup takes the advantage that they missed potentially on the toss to start the game, the flip. Just getting themselves all set up here. It's a hot day here in Bruges. There has to be every so often the sun-blessed tournament, 'cause Northern Europe isn't known for its scintillating weather in May.
The thing is, you usually do get good weather at Tom's. It's just you get every other weather as well, and not just over the course of the weekend, often in the course of a game. It's, yeah, often it's known for being, as the weather forecast says optimistically, changeable. But the weather looks set fair all week, and I am very much enjoying it.
Thompson from the UK. Well, Canada actually technically to give the original birthright, but playing a centering anchor handler.
They've got the king on their money. They count as British.
Commonwealth pals. Big ripper from Salome Rollet. And what a beautiful throw that was. Makes life so easy for Lison Bonneau. Of course, Sister Eva moving over to Berlin's no longer on the Mooncatchers roster.
No, a little bit of change there, but the two French stars, Rollet and Bono linking up superbly there. Rollet has a full arsenal of throws at her disposal. Player whose game I think is, you know, in the ascendancy, and she will continue to get better with, I mean, that's all you need to say about the French stars, because they're all still relatively young, and so you just know that the game is going to get better and better, and that one just steps into the backhand and rips it deep. No fear in targeting Lison Bonneau. I mean, why would you, to be honest? And first offensive possession for Mooncup. Couldn't really ask for it to go much better than that.
So a relatively quiet start to the game so far. We've had big throws and great defense, but nothing too curious. It's been a real tournament of thrills and spills already, Benji. Started, of course, yesterday with the showcase match between the under-24 sides of the Open Division for Italy and Belgium.
What a game that was, by the way.
I know, absolute scorcher. And another U24 team looking very tasty on our live stream in the game previous, the Italian women. Very exciting to see what the youth programs and development are coming out of all these nations.
It wouldn't surprise me if we see those three teams maybe a bit later in the tournament in the brackets.
You love to see it, Benji. Big boost. I think that's from Braun, and a nice reception as well, using that extra bit of verticality. And Germany women making good use of the deep space as the game starts to develop.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to take your opportunities when they are presented, because if you don't really stretch the field, then you know it does get compressed, it does get congested, it gets harder and harder to find the gap. So even though they're an athletic team defensively, Mooncup, when you see the opportunities, you do have to pull the trigger. You cannot hesitate to do so as well, because it's often when you second guess yourself that creates the opportunity, the split second that a defender needs to recover and get in position and to make your life so much more difficult. So when you see the opportunity, as Castamiller did there, you've just got to rip it. And it was ripped on point to Theobald for the score.
Yeah, and Theobald has been playing with some youngsters to keep her in full game shape. Of course, representing for 08 Ultimate last season in the ECS.
Yeah, out of Munster.
That's the one. So Mooncup coming back out on offense. Thompson with a nice flat low one to Bono. Oh, that's right, that's Belpaire with some exceptional power plats. Nice pick off by Imke Schütz. McCulloch staring downfield, takes the inside. Easily held by Arlos, but that's got a lot of loft underneath it. It's going to be a battle. Thompson's arm was in there, but it's Rabea Brandt who comes through for the German women. They've broken back and put us on serve.
I'm not quite sure how she came up with that, because there was so much traffic in there, but it's, I don't know, it's like she's on like a little moped just weaving her way through, and everyone else is at a standstill, and somehow she's finding the direct line and path to the disc to get the Germans that break back and to have their first lead in this contest.
I love that visual, the moped, like little tiny beep, 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 beep.
And it's so annoying when you're stuck in traffic and you just see some... I can't use that word.
Something on 2 wheels.
Yeah, some whippersnapper just weaves their way through, and you just feel nothing but frustration, and that's what Thompson will be feeling there. So frustrated that she had the position, you know, put a lot of pressure on the catch, but so much credit needs to go there to Brandt for, you know, the focus and the concentration and the desire to make that disc hers.
Well, it turns out age and experience can hang tough with youngsters from club teams. Belpaire getting us started on this next offensive possession for Mooncup. High one that sails over Bono. And it's another one into the hands of Imke Schütz. Didn't have to work quite so hard for this one, though. Nice scoop for that high release reset Berlin. Looks through to Stuck. Getting a little bit pinned. This nice movement. Oh, beautiful inside. To find Schütz now across Grassi. That one might have a bit too much lead on it. No, good catch up from Schütz. This is very tight coverage from Mooncup's defense. Really pressing to those last minute decisions. Oh, and that's great little toe work just to make sure from Danilova. Lots of patience from this German Masters women's side. Now the connections start to move through. An interesting position to choose, but what a choice it becomes. Rabea Pran brings another one in for Germany Women's Masters, and Editha Berlin. Well, I didn't see that as an option, Benji, but she made it work fantastically.
Part of the reason this worked is because they went almost dominator style in the backfield for a second, and they did so well, by the way, to get it off this near sideline, because I thought for sure that the stall count was going to get too high and the turnover was going to come, but they managed to weasel their way out of a sideline trap a couple of times, and they gradually pushed themselves further and further towards that far side of the field, but they kept the stack relatively central downfield. It means they're going over towards the far side. The flow of traffic still central, and it means the cut can come to the break side. The defender's not orbiting around there. They're still on the open side, and the throw has some inside-out shape, but it's nothing too exaggerated, and they create that lane really clearly, left it foot free, but the throw still has to be delivered, and it was superbly delivered by Berlin.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that really caught my eye as it's being different. It's sort of a lot of folks, as you say, would really try and put an angle on that disc to hit the break side to make sure it's kind of going way out and then falling back in on the lap. And because it was the way it was released, actually very close to the body, still quite tight. So great flexibility to be able to execute that and have it fly so straight and so smooth. So Katharina Theopold, not Leopold, getting us ready for this next potential break. It's been a run of 3. 2 breaks for Germany women after conceding the first goal of the game. Collet just takes the around. Mooncup now able to find Bono. This is very intense coverage again from the Germany Women's Masters team. They seem to be more happy to allow Mooncup to just take resets, take small gainers on the underneath. We know that Mooncup are a team that have big arms and love to hoof it. They're using their legs, though, to generate momentum from behind. Collet, little look over the shoulder from Belpaire before she makes the move. And then 6 it up, and that is easy pickings for Lison Bono.
Good work there from Mooncup, because it's a test of temperament, I think, that defense from the Germans. They're just trying to, predicate themselves on, we'll stop the big shot, because we know you've got shooters, and you know what they say about shooters?
They gonna shoot.
They do gotta shoot. So how can we continually make you just work it under, do the basics? Do you have the patience and the presence of mind not to get suckered in and not to get baited? And credit to Mooncup, they did that superbly, just continuing to work it around, nothing too exaggerated. We'll just do the sensible thing, take the right options, grind our way down the field if we need to, and eventually they get their reward for it.
They certainly do, Benji. And of course, Mooncup will have high hopes for the EUCS this season. They are entered in it. And of course, Tom's Tourney, I mean, the reason why we have the halftime included these days is so that this can qualify as a EUCS recognized event.
Yes, and I think it's something that, not that a tournament like Tom's needs to attract teams anyway, because it's Tom's Tourney. Everyone wants to go to Tom's Tourney. But the fact that, it will help you get games in for the EUCS, the European Ultimate Club Series, for those unfamiliar at home. It does help, and you can't necessarily guarantee the number of games you'll get in, because you never know who quite you're going to be matched up against necessarily. But it's an extra addition, an extra drawing point to what's already one of the standout tournaments.
Well, standout players be making plays. It was a bit of interesting on the low release, but Theopold brings it home off the shot of Benavides.
Yeah, just isolating Benavides again. Know what a devastating impact she can have as a thrower, so she's really a pick your poison kind of player, because she can dice you up with her arms, so we'll force her away from the disc, and then she just creates instant separation. And it's kind of strange how, because you look at her and it never seems like she's fully in top gear. It's just easy speed from Benavides. And then utilising the change of angles, dropping the weight, getting really low to the floor to get it underneath the mark and just pop it up into the end zone for the score.
Yeah, a little bit of a kind of caught on the back foot as well from Mooncup. I mean, an undefended player in the end zone for the goal. So I'm sure Brice Fannies will have some sage words of wisdom to communicate to the team. One of the things about last season, talking to the coaching set of Mooncup, was actually how this team has really started to develop the next generation of leaders within Women's Ultimate. So excited to see that future as it unravels. Yeah,
I think a lot was made of some of the out-of-town additions to Mooncup. But I think the impressive thing for me is that that wouldn't have happened if they hadn't built a women's program up in the club themselves for them to join.
Borno sends that one through. And it absolutely rips. Deep one that sails over the top. Oh, that is just beautifully positioned. I think a little bit of luck for good measure, but it works out. And that is another break for the German Women's Masters team.
They are on song to start this game. Mooncup look a little bit unsettled. They're making errors that I would, really not associate with players of this quality. Throws just offline and behind. And credit to the Germans, because they have certainly not hung about. I mean, that is an example of really pressing the advantage there. We made some errors we perhaps weren't expecting, but as soon as that disc's turned over, bang, you can see the cut's gone. And Danilova recognises that, launches it deep, especially when you've got size downfield. It's so tempting that it's hard not to. And, Coach, I imagine, pretty pleased with how it's going so far.
That's a smile that you can only get out of being 2 breaks ahead against an elite European women's club team.
And obviously still a lot of time left in the game. An hour sometimes doesn't feel that long, but I think when you know games are only an hour, you do tend to kind of pick up the pace a little bit. And so, you'd be surprised how many games go all the way to 15, even in the shortened time window, especially when the weather's like this.
It does help, Benji, when there is only just a gentle caressing breeze every so often.
I regret not bringing shorts.
That's a big bomb from Borno, and it's a beautiful rundown on the back of it. That's more the style we expect to see from Mooncup. They sneak one through, despite the German defensive plan.
Yeah, just opening up the arm that time, really stretching the field, which I think Mooncup have to do, to be honest. Utilise the full dimensions of the grass here, Make the Germans have to really work to cover every single blade. And this Borno, who I don't think the French have officially announced their World Games squad, but I'd be pretty surprised if she's not in there. Certainly this time opening it up, stretching it deep to Colleen Chartrain for the score to put the Belgians back on the board, although it's still in a little bit of a hole. Of course, Borno was one of the players who was part of the World Games not 4 years ago, 3 years ago, of course, because of the pandemic, out in, I'd call it Birmingham. Of course, the locals would call it Birmingham, and I feel like such a fraud saying that.
That's how you know which one you're talking about. It's Birmingham or Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the French didn't quite manage to, I think, probably achieve their goals at that tournament overall. But
Sixth place was still a really good finish for a really young team.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, myself included, backing them to go, a bit deeper, semi-finals and, you know, medal contention this time around.
Exactly. I think it was that thing of they didn't achieve their goals at that tournament itself, but actually the development work, the level that kind of it pushed a lot of their athletes to go, not only as individuals, but the kind of club sector around it as well. And obviously since then we've seen the French mixed program go from strength to strength and hit gold medal on several surfaces to boot. So Germany women back, coming out on offense. Theopol pops it back. Now across. Big backhand boost, but no one to receive it. Benavides getting caught up in a Mooncup sandwich. Going for the pop back and go. Nice distribution from Shooter. Love that move from Sexton. Just throws it away. Doesn't even really look at the receiver, just it goes up line, but unfortunately the pass back to her wasn't enough.
I thought for a second the bid was going to come there from Sexton, but maybe just didn't quite have her legs under her to get in that position.
So, Germany Women Masters with a chance at redemption. It's a big boost from Benavides, and the only person to read it correctly is Fiona Schluter. And Mooncup with an opportunity to try and rebalance the scales. This is good holstering, almost a zone at the front. In fact, it may well be another big boost. This time it's a bit of a moonshot. Can she go track it down? No, just escapes Lazaris at the back of the end zone. I think a discussion about maybe some of the contact underneath it, but that one was sailing well clear of the pack, Benji.
It's a very ambitious shot, I'll say that much, but yeah, just kept going and the traffic kind of got suckered in underneath. See if maybe you can have someone peel off at the back to reel it in, but I don't think the players downfield were open enough. It was pretty good coverage so that even if the huck is a little bit better weighted, it would still be a bit more of a sky battle than perhaps you'd want.
So the full stretch to go for the German Women's Masters, but they come unscrewed on a relatively rudimentary reset pass. And a gift again for Mooncup.
Yeah, at times the Mooncup D-line especially has struggled with the red zone possessions, trying to get the set plays measured up correctly.
Looking for options. Gonna come hither from the handler spot. But nice movement around, and it's Sexton on the spot for the goal. Mooncup punch their 5th point into the scoreboard. 2 breaks, but trailing versus this German Masters women's team.
I mean, if you think about where Mooncup picked that up, right on the end zone line towards this near side, and then they had to go all the way back towards the far side of the pitch before the little bit of a leading pass there. Again, utilising the full width, but I think you have to say, if you're looking at it from a coaching perspective, we're picking up the disc on the end zone line. I mean, it's great that we don't see an option. We have the patience to go all the way round and all the way back, but we could probably be more clinical with that, make it easier on ourselves. Can we set up an isolation towards that front? If they, and if they, for example, they double that to try and take it out, who's going to make that fill in? I think they can be a little bit more clinical. There could be a bit more order, certainly, in those red zone sets.
No, I'm with you, Benji. It would be nice to see something a little bit more clinical coming out in certain situations on this pitch. But a scrappy point, 5 turnovers total.
The thing is, it is early in the season as well. You don't necessarily have your full squad here, so you trust that will come with time.
You certainly do, Benji. Great rundown from Ekaterina Danilova. Now, Germany women looking to just move the disc laterally, try and keep the flow going. Nice moves. close to the tape. Casual high release dish, and that will do quite nicely to take us to 7-5. Germany women with the lead. Just by one break, though. They did start the game on offense. Mooncup's just starting to try and breathe down their necks.
The pass that really busted things open for me was the leader towards Danilova on this near side. Put it out into space. You see how quickly she covers the ground as well. Just able to take it in stride. It's a beautiful throw. Bit of edge on it, nothing too exaggerated. Doesn't have to lay out for it, and then doing a good job here, as you see it again, from the reverse angle of getting the disc moving quickly afterwards, and clearly they're more than happy to call her number as he just gets the little toss into the end zone for the score there. I think it's interesting, actually, if we just look at the kind of the average number of passes here for both sides, because I feel like Mooncup, they're just generally kind of trying to get it a little bit quicker. They want possessions to be more clipped and more precise, but the Germans, I think, are just happy to maybe be a bit more methodical at times in the way they progress the disc down the field.
I tell you what, this German D-line, though, every time they've had a shot for a goal, every time they've had an opportunity for a break, they've taken it.
Yeah, they've not turned it over yet, and that is not bad going, I think they say.
And maybe sort of working through the athletes that they're going to choose for their final roster rotations. So you see Thompson with a relatively high sailing one to Belpaire, but makes good work of it. Taking slight negative yards, nice high reaching grab. Huddle now with the casual disc to Bourneau. That one again high, but plenty of time for Lefebvre. Oh, that is quite a shot, isn't it? And not quite enough for Salom Huddle. Needs the reading glasses or perhaps some sunglasses. It is quite bright out here today.
Yeah, going up against a slightly taller defender there, and I think that makes the difference because it's forcing Huddle to maybe try and go up a little bit earlier than perhaps she would otherwise like. And that's good defensive work because it doesn't matter if you get the disc as a defender, just as long as your opponent doesn't. Yeah,
great work from Mara Arles just to use the frame and get in the way, and underway now. This next possession for the Germany's defensive line. But Belpaire gets it back, nice grab. Thompson with the launch this time, a much easier disc. Makes Rollet's life a little bit better and works out for the goal. 7-6, Germany leading by 1.
And as the season progresses, you're going to see some of the players who are, newer to the roster or having different roles. That chemistry will dovetail, certainly. Those kind of covalent bonds will be formed. But that takes a little bit of time. It's not always that easy. And Thompson is one of those players who are obviously, vastly experienced, right at the top levels of the game, in, both the mixed and women's divisions. But, every time you come to a new team, there will be a little bit of teething problems sometimes. I think you'd be surprised if there weren't. And, as soon as Thompson just gets more and more comfortable with, the arsenal of receivers that this Mooncup roster has, then it's going to be a frightening prospect.
It certainly is, Benji. And obviously, this is a lot of the formal EUCS roster. That is a permanent move for the season. Thompson was in Grenoble at the Spring Tour not too long ago. With
just last week, right?
Side. Yep. And in terms of the kind of final finish at that tournament, they were 4th overall in terms of the stats of winning games. Of course, they took that loss to Tequila Boom Boom in the 3-4 matchup.
Yeah, the spring tours are interesting because they all have slightly different formats and they don't always have a clear winner at the end of it, which makes things tricky. Sometimes it feels like getting the tone and the timbre of those tournaments is tricky, where, there's not someone walking away with a trophy at the end of it. How do you properly judge what's successful and what isn't?
Well, with the new change to the kind of ranking algorithm, it's all become a little bit of the game within the game, as it were.
Yeah, it's nice to come to tournaments like Tom's where it feels like, there's some real prestige on the line rather than just, getting games, good level games, but games for the sake of playing games.
That one's a little bit of an ambitious release. Great track down on the second effort though, and then launches it to the back corner into the waiting hands of Pauline Janssen. And that will give us half. Germany women 8, Mooncup 6. And I'm sure they're all quite keen to get out into the shade. Mooncup players seem to be taking to the line, but it is definitely going to be half, Benji.
Yeah, it is half at 8, and we just had the halftime jingle anyway. So even if they hadn't heard it, it wouldn't be a clear instant halftime. It'd be halftime cap +1, much like the end of the game. I think they've got the message now that we will have the halftime change of ends, although with an hour, you don't necessarily want to hang around for too long anyway.
Indeed, well, grab yourself something refreshing and see us for the second half. Can Mooncup return their fates?
We live in a world where everything can be referenced online. Imagine if the greatest moments in our sport were never filmed. Eurodisc continues to do what it takes to make free-to-watch live streams a reality. Let's leave nothing to the imagination. We'll consume the action live, and we'll support those that help to make it happen. If it wasn't streamed, it didn't happen. Eurodisc.
What a grab! Oh my God! Somehow they do it!
Here we go.
This year, London Invite is bigger than ever, with 8 teams in the Open Division, 8 teams in the Women's Division, and for the first time, a full 8-team mixed division.
With 5 World Games teams, USA, Canada, Australia, Germany, France.
As well as the Tokai Super Team, is sure to be the ultimate showcase of the best in the world.
More teams, more streams, more stars, more ultimate.
More excitement.
You're not going to want to miss London Invite 2025.
And you'll see some of these athletes at that very tournament, but we're focusing on the action here. Tom's Tourney 2025, allegedly the 30th edition, started in 1992, and it is Mooncup coming out on offense to try and bring themselves ever closer to the Germany Women's Masters team. They do, with some just action on the front cone. A nice pull in, and Belpaire with the assist.
Yeah, Belpaire have been very impressed with her performance in this game. Made some tough grabs and been able to open it up with her throws as well. Lisson Borno is such a good target downfield, as we saw, not just on the scoring reception, but catching the huck from that very first pass just to really uncork things from the off. And
yeah, to officially confirm, are slightly confusing. There are 2 number 18s for Mooncup jerseys. The other one, of course, Meva Kusi, another Rapidash athlete for sure. But starting to work through the gears, find the right grooves is this Mooncup team.
Yeah, it's the first game of the weekend for these sides, so I say the weekend as if it's not a Thursday. My schedule is very offset by starting, one day earlier than we normally expect. But, they will build into it as the season goes on.
I mean, I said Wednesday at the beginning of the call. Who knows what day it is? The main thing, Benji, is it's Frisbee Day.
That is true. It is a glorious May Day here in Belgium.
Indeed, pinch punch first of the month, no returns, as they say, at least in England.
You actually have to pinch me and punch me when you say that. No, you don't. I take that back.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be careful what you ask for, Benji. But what we're being delivered here is a great matchup. Of course, that hold to start the second half will give that little bit of extra determination. Theopold nearly running past the disc that was thrown to her, but makes the pivot around. And just taking the small moves back and forth. Plenty of space being given to the handler set, so it's just inching up. I'm pretty sure your Masters level athletes are quite happy to, just use their brains and their legs to just inch their way towards the end zone. Benavides now. Lovely leader for Castor Miller. And just really very, very patient offense there from the Germany Women's Masters team.
That was, and I'm going to say this, entirely complimentary, pretty boring.
It was dull.
And that's exactly what you want, I think, as an offense. You know, it's not going to make a highlight reel, but as an offense, you know, you get down there, you do the sensible thing, you take open passes, you march your way down the field for the score, and you get off the field without even necessarily feeling like you had to work too hard. That's a dream.
And it's another clean conversion for this German Women's Masters team. I mean, maybe I'm just speaking too much from my own experience, but yeah, when you reach your 30s as an athlete, actually, you've generally had quite a long playing career, so that concept of sagging off of the handlers, not really making them feel the threat, feel the pressure, and, you know, you're only in charge by 1 point.
You see, I wouldn't know that. And you're looking at me like, you're definitely in your 30s. Oh yeah, I am definitely in my 30s. I'm not pretending that I'm not. I'm just well aware of the fact that I am not and never was an athlete.
But it's interesting because, of course, you know, it's just a different strategy, right? You say, well, we're not going to massively pressure the handler set. We're going to see if we can goad them into something a little bit spicy. But that one was just patient, just working your way slowly up the rope. So a zone look again from this German Women's Masters team. There's a very, very light breeze coming up towards midday. In fact, just after midday, so the sun really beating down.
The cooling effect is quite welcome.
It certainly is, Benji. Borno. Nice, fine, beautiful leader that just sits on the wind perfectly. Now Belpaire, back to Thompson.
Judging from the look on Thompson's face, I think she's quite enjoying popping it in and around the front line of this zone.
Well, certainly a diverse range of styles are enjoyed by Helen Thompson. But lots of touches usually makes any handler pretty happy.
You know what? That's fair.
Kusi, a little bit lacking in the footwork there, but not meaningful enough within the game to call it. Oh, huge effort. And a foul call, I think, just clipped the edge there, accepted immediately.
28 passes so far this possession.
I like the zone look. I think it's asking some very different questions of Mooncup, isn't it?
They're putting a little bit of air underneath it. It floated, and there's going to be maybe a discussion about who got that one first. It was the first time that Mooncup, you know, really looked to pass it more than a few yards, and maybe just caught a bit more of a gust than perhaps they were initially expecting, and it invited pressure underneath and led to the contested catch.
What do you reckon, Benji?
I'm not sure. Obviously, the ruling is that tie goes to the offense, and that is, in the end, what they have decided.
Well, there you have it. Very quick on our replay, even when we slow it down slightly. It's just the momentum ripping it down. Lefebvre, a nice little strength celebration.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to get stuck in, and to be honest, I think Mooncup could just continue dinking and dunking it all the way to the end zone, but I think they thought, actually, you know, if we see the opportunity here, you know, it could be so easy to get sucked in of just trying to walk your way in, and sometimes, you know, you think, oh, the shot's there, why not just take it?
But that's a total tally of 32 passes in the end.
That's what I made it.
Woof. That's the highest pass count so far in the entire match. The highest of the German women's team that have required is 15, both for the D-line and the O-line.
Yeah, and that's what the German defence there is trying to do. They're trying to force you to really piecemeal your way towards the end zone and take away the shot that, you know, they think that Mooncup's offence is based around.
And we have seen in previous seasons, you know, that Mooncup are a team that can be rattled. They do like to ride the vibes, though. Certainly that was to their great benefit last season at EUCF.
Yeah, when they're, you know, riding the crest of the wave of emotion, yeah, they can be almost unstoppable. So sometimes just you take the wind out of the sails a little bit, just slow them down and just temper them a little bit. That's dangerous and picked off.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Eyes up from Fiona Schluter. Really being a big impact player in this game and shooting to the deep space. Oh, that just is a little bit too far. Great effort on the rundown, but not to be.
Yeah, Schluter's been a real menace defensively. I think picking up 3 blocks now, but just hasn't necessarily found her range on some of those deep shots.
Too much of a power thrower, perhaps. So giving the opportunity, but taking it away, and takes the matchup downfield with Benavides. Kyo upfield. Doesn't have the much in the way of options as the stack just tries to keep up with how the play's moving. Theopold with a nice decision making. Now Esther Braun pops it through just about. I tell you what, Germany women are winning a lot of these 50-50 battles. Now, can they swing it all the way across? They do, and it's a shot across the bows into the paws of who else but Kyo Benavides. So Germany women staying ahead. We're just bouncing point for point through the second half of this match with just over 15 minutes of regulation time remaining, Benji.
Yeah, it's getting close, and I must admit they've had some good possessions. I didn't like the shot so much that time from the Germans. In contested coverage down that far sideline, but afterwards they did superbly just to get back into rhythm, work it again, and utilise the dump swing to stretch the Mooncup defence, and in the end Benavides unveils herself on this near side for the score.
And I think, Justin, seems like this Germany women's team are feeling the vibe that little bit more than Mooncup right now. They seem to be looking a little bit looser, a bit more relaxed. Even though Mooncup are very much not snuffed out of this game yet, 10-8 is a very dangerous scoreline. So lining up under the beating midday sun. It's due to potentially reach up to nearly 30 degrees Celsius here in Bruges over the course of the tournament. Of course, mind you, nothing quite like what our crew had in Dubai a couple of weeks ago. That one hits almost the shins of Rollet. Lovely inside shot to Bourneau. Now Lefebvre. Looking a little bit stuck. Great coverage as the pitch starts to compress. Thompson now pops it out. There was separation, but Rollet decides it's not the one. Thompson with a high release. Belpaire, oh, that's just really beautiful timing and connection. I think it's Coussi on the end of it. All smiles are Mooncup, 10-9.
Earlier we spoke about how when they got into the red zone, sometimes it felt cluttered and congested for Moon. That time, no such problem. It felt they had a clear plan. Look for a few seconds, we don't see it. Reset. When we reset, who's filling in? Who's making that next one? And the timing is right. They're not going too early, which means they can put the throws out to space. Often when you're attacking that break side option, what really stymies the flow is players moving too early, because then you turn downfield, you want to hit it. Your player's there, great, but the defender's there as well, and that means that you have to holster, you have to redirect, change the flow of traffic, go back the other way. But if you can delay that a little bit, it means that the throw's throwing to space and they're leading you out. So rather than trying to hit you directly, you're running onto it, which makes it easier.
So the game runneth on. Kyoko Benavides there in the centre of your shot, looking perhaps a little bit fatigued. She's been pulling a lot of duty for this Germany women's team in the game, but as you would expect her to do so.
I was going to say, she looks fresh as anything to me.
You have to notice the very, very slight level of perspiration, Benji.
The singular bead of sweat, maybe.
Indeed, indeed. Nice start. Good fielding of the pull. Trying to isolate players coming out of the horizontal stack, sort of that pair hustling off towards the inactive sideline. Verhoeven playing. Takes the inside shot. Zoete Braun. Now Karsten Miller. Benavides. Again, the German women very patient, using the dominators to keep the flow going. Now are they going to shoot it down that sideline? They do. This time they have more of an opening. Makes the life of Theopold much easier. And that will be good to keep them in charge here. 13 clean passes.
Yeah, it's a clear kind of regimented schematic possession, that one, for Germany. They know how the offense is supposed to run, what the patterns are, how we're designing this. And it feels like the first half of the possession, okay, we're just kind of keeping things in phase, keeping things in motion. But when they break it open, they see the opportunity, and that's when the strike deep comes. It's work it around, set up those opportunities, and when the opportunity comes, we've pulled the trigger, we don't hesitate, and Marsen finds Theopold to get them 2 up once more.
Yeah, it kind of feels like actually it's not necessarily the downfield set plays that are finding the magic. It is those identification, that maturity of saying, okay, well, actually, this isn't what's working out, but what's next? What's going to hit kind of, you know, the further letters into the alphabet as you go through the sequence of play. Another quick fielding of the pool. This time it's Thompson in the central spot, finds Lefebvre. Now Belpaire. Giving and going, but that one hits the back of our monitor.
Thanks for that.
We're not involved in the game. But Thompson was the target. That one flew way of skew. And it will be Mara Arles to pick up with Salom Kholé. Inside up line. Oh, great grab from Edita Berlin. And a fine down the line. Oh, there's a little bit of contact after it. I don't think there's any call, just a bit of a Bosch. Hopefully the Chatrin is okay. Turnover signalled by Alina Struck.
We had mentioned how they are not afraid of pulling the trigger when they think the opportunity is there. On that occasion, you've got such a narrow window to work with down the sideline. And sees, okay, the defender's looking the other way, but as soon as she pulls the trigger, because she's got to fire it in there, doesn't quite get the angle that she needs. There is a pick because Lisa Bourneau, as we like to say, is suspiciously open, although I'm not sure it's ever that suspicious when it's Lisa Bourneau, to be honest.
I mean, you can still have a little doubt in your mind, depending on the sequence of play before. But yeah, she's got the speed to rinse most of the pack. It's true. So Belpaire with the restart. Thompson to Kholé. Again, a lot of loft under some of these passes from Mooncup, but the separation was there, so it's well handled. Oh, but that one isn't. Just goes straight behind Belpaire's back. Not really too much he could have done about that. And so an enviable position for the German women's masters team. Not too close to the end zone, not too far away. Berlin goes for that. I thought that was a hand block, but it's just a fake that spooked even me.
Yeah, Rolle did a really good job of committing to stopping the inside, but having done so, it then opened up the space for the around, and that was well recognised.
Now Benavides, nice flat one, but almost ended up in the hands of Belper. Sturk seemed to be the intended target, but I think maybe just got spooked by the teammate not clearing out well enough.
Yeah, and the wind is beginning to pick up a little bit now.
Yeah, so this is a shooting upwind into the breeze. Oh, that's a great effort to try and get the disc back for Sturk, but it's going to be a beautiful perk. Great form from Borneau. Cousy now on the goal line. Rollet tries to back it up, but it's Lefebvre. Pick call. Don't think it affected that handler reset, so I think Lefebvre will retain possession.
He just tried to slide out of that stack, but too much traffic in the way.
Back in on one. So Lefebvre looking for options. Belper with a shoulder shimmy shake. Now Cousy launches it. Oh, just about reaching into the sky. Salom Rollet claws it down, and that will still be just the hold for Mooncup. Another long drawn out point. 4 turnovers total after we had such a clean second half so far.
Yeah, you can call that a little bit of a win for the German defense because they turned Mooncup a couple of times and they got their opportunities, but they will be frustrated that in good positions, yeah, they did not threaten that goal as much as they potentially would have liked. And here, the plan is clear. They set up the space on that far sideline for the strike from Salome Rollet, but the throw begins to float a little bit, and you wonder if maybe a defender can flash across, but the defenders are turned slightly, so they don't recognise it until too late to really pressure that. And so maybe you think, okay, do you get a defender maybe from the stack just to sit in that space ever so slightly to maybe, even if not to necessarily get the block, just to try and put a little bit of doubt in the thrower's mind, just to stop that option going, because if they don't, that's going every time, and normally when you're throwing to relay like that, it's going to end in a goal.
My mind goes back to that big Borneau boost, though. That was really what opened up
yeah,
that possession.
Huge huck.
Nice aggressive meeting of the ball. Almost make it to centre field unmarked. That's going to be perhaps a little too low. And yes, it's zinged into the hand of Howard Diop.
Brilliant block there from Diop.
It's almost like there was something magnetic about those palms. Relay with a fake-off dish. Given plenty of space by the matchup. Now swinging across. Lazaris. Dish over the shoulder. No one really turning towards Borneau. Now, Schluter. Through to Thompson. That's a very interesting lead to the break side, but I don't hate it. Taken away by a great read, though. Defense from Caston Miller. Caston Miller up line. No one far enough to make use of the power position for a big boost. That's a nice find, though. Straight into the hands of Marson. This is good flow now from the German Women's Masters team. Slowing things down a little bit. Now just trying to find focus and hit something. It's going to be a hammer to space on 9.5. Valiant effort, but good smother cover from Mooncup.
Yeah, Caston Miller had to get something out because a stall out is absolutely not going to be completed. So trying the hammer towards the space. Benavides isn't far. Commits the body on the layout, but just cannot quite get her fingertips underneath it.
A rare moment where the German women's team just didn't really have as many resets as they normally do. They've been running a lot of time with having 2 in the back, but that one's going to sail way too far for Lison Borneau. Perhaps a little bit of huck and D as we start to... We heard the 5-minute warning jingle a few moments ago. That one's a little bit of a shot in the dark, though. Picked up by Thompson to get moving with Lefebvre. Giving and going. Can they milk it all the way? Not quite. Collet now all the way across. A little bit jittery for Lazaris. Has Thompson gunning up towards the line, and that will work out just fine. A nice flat flash from the Thompson.
Yeah, that's good coaching from Mooncup, because they recognise time's running out in this game. So we need to get breaks, and we need to get them quick. So they cross a lot of players over to their D-line there. Players like Thompson, players like Bourneau, Rollet. And not only does that maybe say, okay, these players, we can trust them to get the block, but it gives your offense an element of calm after the turn. And, you know, the first possession looked very good until the slightly misjudged huck from Thompson. The second one definitely felt more like we're going to play for territory. And something you hear a little bit, I think, in games like this, which are relatively close, is you hear, we're going to win it with our legs. And I think that's the Mooncup plan now, is we're going to, you know, we're not going to try anything fancy. We're just going to come, you know, 1v1, win your matchup, and just try and run our opponent into the ground to the point where we're not getting blocks because they're making the mistakes themselves.
So with time expiring very soon, we see another of those players that you mentioned, Benji, staying out on the line, readying themselves for another defensive point. Certainly the German women's team have been ahead ever since they went on that run of 3 early stages in the game. So we're even ups for breaks. It's 11-11. Can German women maintain their advantage, trading up? So an out-of-bounds pull will give a little gift to start setting up in a side stack. I wonder who might explode from that first, Benji. Is it going to be Keir Benavides? I think it might be.
It's well covered, though.
Yep. A little bit of a softer start for the German women. Having to take the negative passes backwards. Great pickup from Laura Marson. And through Paul. Leads for Kashtan Miller. On dishes and dice. Feed now. Plane's there, but the head tilt initiates the defender of Emma Sexton.
11 passes, and they're still at the brick mark.
Benavides now has Plane. Mooncup doing well with their switches to really try and stifle this flow. That's a nice ask, but it's just too far to be crossed. And the turnover is indeed generated.
Yeah, they've run so much of their offense through Svenja Kastenmiller, and as the game's gone on, a couple more errors beginning to creep in. She's tiring under the really hot sun here in Belgium.
So Thompson to pick up. Initiates Sexton. Well, just about scraping it out. Lovely shot up line to Schroeter. Great agility on the stutter step and move back from Thompson.
Yeah, that's the hooter as well, so it's going to be game to 13 regardless.
Bourneau through to Lefebvre. This for the break to put themselves in front and put that pressure on the German women's masters team. Chatran now. Bourneau. Thinking about something saucy, just squeezes it through to Thompson instead. Oh, what a recovery. Just the flop and grab, and then an absolute laser of a forehand clung onto just about by Béa Lefebvre. And in the late stages, those tightening lines paying dividends for Mooncup.
Boy, they had to work for that one, didn't they, Hannah? It was so tight that, you know, it could easily just be a missed footstep somewhere. You know, a finger out of place that would give the disc back to the Germans, and they very nearly got it as well, but awkward catch from Lisson Bourneau. Did so well just to kind of curl it back into her grasp. And having done so, you know, sometimes you hear about the conservation of greatness. Good spirit, by the way, to immediately signal that up from the German defender that, oh, you know, you do something cool, okay, calm it down. Lisson Bourneau laughs in the face of that principle and says, you know what, there's a shot to the back of the end zone. I'm Lisson Bourneau. Why would I not take that? I mean, it's a great cut from Lefebvre, so absolutely the right thing to do. But, you know, it shows really good composure just to take the breath to steady yourself while you're picking back up, and then, doesn't matter, nail the throw for the score. Mooncup back in front for the first time since 2-1.
She did nail that pass, though. That was, I mean, Belle Lefebvre is a fantastic person to shoot something that hard at because, you know, she's got the grabs, but that looked like it had a lot of edge on it. And if that had come out wrong and not been caught, I'm sure we'd be criticising exactly for the thing you're complimenting, in a sense. But it worked, so who cares?
Exactly. You can see the two teams warming up towards our left and right for the next game on stream, which gets underway in a little over 10 minutes' time. Back to the Open Division for Heidi's versus Ritz. But we've got the exciting conclusion of this game first.
Indeed we do, Benji. So Mooncup putting themselves in charge with those tightened lines. Now, those athletes are resting on the sidelines, more or less, and it's a mistake from the German Women's Masters team, this to take it with another break. Sexton to pick up. Has a little look over the shoulder and takes the reset to begin with. Shooter having to dance a little bit to get free. And the commitment from Lazaris just to finish the cut all the way through. Call downfield.
I can see why there would have been a pick there. Of course, you are allowed to alter your position off any stoppages so that a pick does not occur on the resumption.
Stack feeling a little bit disconnected. Not gaining too much on the unders, but that's a nice snag. Resets the feet. Lazaris now on the near side. Looking a little off for options, but still has Sexton waiting, ever present to steady the ship. Again, Mooncup find themselves fairly well contained. Oh, just nearly. Shoots swiping. They go for it in the deep space. Diop underneath and just about comes through at the last moment. Hawa Diop closes off the game. Goal is signalled and Mooncup celebratory. 13-11. That last run of points, Benji. Great tactical line management and it saw them through.
Yeah, Schlurter, you can tell she's been eyeing that up all game, just constantly trying to stretch the field with her throws. Diop has often been the target of those, as she was in the very first point, even though she was just shy of the end zone on that occasion. This time, you know, it says, this is a matchup that I like. I back the athleticism and the length of Diop here. So sends it towards the end zone, put a bit of air underneath it, and says Diop, go on then, go out there and get it. And that is exactly what she does to ice the game for the Belgians.
Well, an impressive finish. I think probably Fiona Shooter might be one of the players of the match. Well, the player of the match, I should say, of a couple that really stood out. But as you said, was just so consistent, really distributing beautifully. It was a shame not to see another block for Imke Schütz, who was really pivotal in that run of breaks for Germany Women's Masters. But of course, both of these teams, plenty of season left to play for, plenty of games yet to go, because we are only at the very beginning of this 2025 TOM'S Tourney here in a very warm and sunny Bruges. We hope you've enjoyed this game. We've got a plentiful platter for the rest of this three-day event. Benji, you've already talked about what's got coming up next, but are there any games that are particularly catching your eye in general this tournament?
I'll be honest, Heidi's versus Kurt of the slate we have today, I think is maybe the most mouth-watering, because these are two sides who are very much on the ascendancy after their performances at Spring Tour.
Well, we'll jump out of the booth to allow space for that next one to envelop and develop. But Mooncup take the win here over Germany Women's Masters, 13-11.
Thank you. Thanks.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, ultimate.
ULTI.TV.
I'm so ready for new mistakes. No, I've been looking for love instead, for someone I appreciate, and everything crossed my way. I love that I don't know your name. Oh no, I never meant to misbehave. Something about you makes me crave. You really are a different taste. I love that I don't know your name. I know you have questions, I don't have answers, clearly no manners, baby. I know you want it better, putting on the pressure, 'cause pressure's gonna get the very best of me. I give a little something, doesn't come for free. Oh, I know you have questions, baby. Even if I try and try too hard, nothing's ever enough. Even if I try and try too hard, tell me what to do, say anything, yeah. Dive deeper, dive deeper, yeah. Dive deeper, dive with me, yeah. I know we could fly if we just try. If we just try. So come on, baby, dive deeper, dive deeper, yeah. Dive deeper, dive with me, yeah. I know we could fly if we just try, baby, try. You find it distracting, hold of our issues, rather die with you. We no longer talk when it gets hard, so it only gets harder. I know you are gonna get the best of me. Come a little closer, we can dive in deep. Oh, I'd rather be with you, baby. Even if I try and try too hard, nothing's ever enough. Even if I try and try too hard, tell me what to do, say anything, yeah. Dive deeper, dive deeper, yeah. Dive deeper, dive with me, yeah. I know we could fly if we just try. If we just try. So come on, baby, dive deeper, dive deeper, yeah. Dive deeper, dive with me, yeah. I know we could fly if we just try, baby, try. We can do better, baby, I believe. Come a little closer, we can dive in deep. We can do it better, baby, I believe. I believe. Even if I try and try so hard, nothing's ever enough. Even if I try and try so hard, tell me what to do now. Dive deeper, dive deeper, yeah. Dive deeper, dive with me, yeah. I know we could fly if we just try. If we just try. So come on, baby, dive deeper, dive deeper, yeah. Dive deeper, dive with me, yeah. I know we could fly if we just try, baby, try. Know what I got, know what I want. Boy, don't get me wrong, sure we're having fun, but it don't mean what to do, how to make me fall for you. You should learn that on your own. I'll play cool, cause I hope you pick it up soon, and you know just what to do. Don't you? Boy, just be honest.